Hello everyone. So gonna be doing something a little different today. Not really a normal thing for our channel, but all my friends and family, figures, always a noise, right? All my friends and family suggested that I do a video about Teslas because I've been driving a Tesla Model S for a number of years, and when we got up here to Oregon, we both got jobs that were pretty far away and realized we couldn't share just one car because we only brought one car with us. And so we purchased another Tesla for Elizabeth to drive, and we specifically were looking for one that had full self-driving, so it would just be a lot safer and easier for her to drive at doing a night shift through backcountry roads in the winter in Oregon. So an all-wheel drive with full self-driving capability was what we were looking for. So so now we have two of them, and having been an owner for years and having now tried the different technologies out, I'm in a great position to kind of give everyone a real world opinion, I guess, and what it's really like to own and drive Teslas. And also I've got a good sense of everyone's questions, because over the years I've gotten all the questions, and everyone's always says, wow, I didn't know that, wow, I didn't know that, you know. So so here we go.
When we wake, hear the birds and see the sun. Side by side our fears are done. Oh, the good times just begun. We know what we have, let's hold on tight. Found what we're looking for in life. Call us crazy, but things are finally right. With you and I, the future is bright.
Okay, so we'll start with the Model S, which we call Samantha. And the Model S is the full-size sedan that Tesla makes. It's the very first car that Tesla ever mass-produced, and in fact this configuration with the red and the tan interior, exactly how it's set up, is nearly identical to the very first Tesla that rolled off the assembly line. I'm talking about the mass-produced assembly line. So that's kind of interesting, historic in some respects as far as this car goes. Tesla makes an SUV version of this car, the Model X, which is essentially the same wheelbase platform, powertrains, dashboard. The two are very similar. So if you look at one or drive one, it'd be very similar to driving and looking at the other, excepting of course for the body shape, completely different on a Model X. So we'll take a quick walk around the Model S, and you'll see right away that this car has held up extremely well. There is not a single little tiny dent in the door. The aluminum construction and the paint has held up unbelievably well. I put a little tow hitch on the back we used to tow our tiny little boat, but it could also use to carry like bicycles or something like that. Now, the only actually flaw in this car is where I scraped it several years ago on the coming into the garage, and it's got a little bit of a rough spot right there from that. But and you know, tiny little dings from a lot of miles, but really it's held up extremely well. Let's look at the front. The front on this is enormous. If you had a dual motor car, you wouldn't have this extra large space there, but you can fit a lot of things in this frunk. The frunk is not automatic, you do have to close it, but the trunk is automatic. And this is a hatchback and the seats fold down, so you can turn this into quite a large space. And underneath this is another very large space. And if your car locks while you're near it, you just push the door handles and it opens. So you can see the tan interior, kind of walnut tone wood. The early Teslas didn't have a center console, so we inserted this rubber insert down here and really like the way that has worked out for us. Back seat on this car is quite large. Plenty of headroom and a flat floor all the way through. So you can definitely fit adults in the back seat and fit people 3 wide. It's not a small car. Okay, so now we'll talk about the Model 3. And this car is the smaller car that is meant to be the mass market car that the everyday person could afford for Tesla. And when they first came out, you could buy one as cheap as $35,000, but they quickly jumped up in price and content and added more features. And this represents kind of your top end of a Model 3 in a lot of ways, because it is the all-wheel drive version, and it's got a power boost, and it's got full self-driving capability. So a lot of nice options, and they did a premium interior on this one also. And it is virtually brand new. We did buy it used, but only 20-some thousand miles on it, so there's not a mark or anything on it that we found. And it's got these winter tires on it that are pretty incredible, man. This sucker with all-wheel drive, it'd claw up a snow slope probably. Notice the door handle on this don't auto present. You push this side in, pull this side out. There's even less buttons in here than there is in the other one. This one does have a full console. We do like the seats better in this one. The back seat we got a few things laying on the floor there, but not as spacious as the Model S, not as easy to put people 3 wide, not as good if you're over 6 feet. Now if you don't have your phone handy and you want to open the trunk or the frunk, you can just go in here and push open, and that opens. And there is actually a button on the trunk, but you can just push this also. There you go. We do have some things in here also, but you'll immediately notice the frunk on this is smaller than the Model S, considerably smaller. One small suitcase, perhaps, some groceries, and we still use it for that. We like the smaller frunk because nothing flies around if you just have a few groceries. That works out real well. The trunk doesn't auto open like the other one. You have to lift it. And of course I left things in the way. Okay. There you can look under, and you've got a large space under the trunk in the Model 3. And there's the rest of that, and this is not a hatchback. Now, just like the Model S, they make the Model Y which is the SUV version of this car. And so everything would be very similar between the two, excepting for the body style, as far as the way they drive and handle it and so forth. The Model 3 is definitely between the two cars, the sportier one. The ride is firmer, the handling quicker. It's definitely got that sports car feel compared to the Model S, which has got the more luxury car feel, more comfortable ride, quieter interior. It's a pretty significant difference between the two. I'm just going to talk real quick about charging at home. So if you plug a Tesla into a regular household outlet, it will take days and days to fully charge it. It's not a fast enough thing. So what you really want is a 50 amp receptacle. And the nice thing is that I worked with my parents when we got up here with the RV to put 50 amp service in that we could plug the RV into, but also a Tesla can plug into the exact same plug. So this is a 50 amp receptacle, and your regular Tesla adapter can adapt to that. So you could plug into someone's dryer receptacle. If you had a dryer in the garage, you could plug into that. But you do need, ideally, a faster connection. And with that connection, you could charge the car in hours instead of days. Now, if you're fully empty, it might be 6 hours, but that's fine if you plug in at the end of every day. Then every morning you're fully charged. Okay, so I'm going to take a few minutes to just show you what the controls are like inside a Tesla. And the two cars have virtually the same controls since the Model S has been updated to the latest infotainment system, has the newest screen, the newest technology, so it's almost identical in the features and so forth that it has, excepting of course that this car is full self-driving, so there's some extra things in there for that. But the controls of the car, like I said, do work just like an iPad. So for instance, your music, you can stream any music in the world pretty much right through the car. Navigation, the car is actually assuming that we're navigating to Elizabeth's work because that's usually what she does about this time of day, and it learned that, so we're going to cancel that. But if you go down to the far left, you push the car button. That's how you get to all the controls for the car. You can adjust the feel of everything. In this car, you can adjust your mirrors, your glove, you can open your glove box, you can adjust your windshield wipers to turn them from automatic. Your steering wheel in and out. Sentry mode is your security system. There's a lot of things that you can do certainly in that one screen. So you can go down through how it drives, charging information. This is the autopilot information that the other car doesn't have. So this is where we're able to beta test and try out all the new self-driving. You can control how the car is controlled. So here's your phone set as keys. We also have two little credit cards, which in a pinch can serve as your keys to your car. Control your lights, your display, trips, navigation. This is where you can deal with service-related things. Here's where you can check if you have the latest software and if there's an update to the car, any upgrades that you've paid for. So anyway, that's all on there, and you can see this works just like an iPad. Over here is where I could control the lock, unlock, and see what's going on with the car there. The real fun part down here, your entertainment and your games. There's a lot of fun games in here that you can play while you're charging or sitting in the car. But also theater mode is wonderful because you can do Netflix, Hulu, Disney Plus, YouTube. You can learn how to use the car better with tutorials. You can have a romantic fireplace. You can have a sketch pad. Tons of things. And you can hit the browser and you can browse the internet. So that's a quick run through. See if I missed anything. You could control see all your cameras here. That's kind of nice. Anyway, just a quick run through on what it's like to use the screen of a Tesla. If you've used an iPad, you'll adapt to it quickly and intuitively. So I'm sure there are plenty of you out there who are looking at our 2 Teslas and saying, dang, I mean, you guys must be made of money. And I can tell you that that's not necessarily true. It is a myth, I think, that Teslas are expensive, because this particular Model S that I'm sitting in currently is going to end up being, I think, the cheapest car I've ever owned. And I'll explain. I'm a student of total cost of ownership, and I study, because I used my car for work for so many years. I mean, I tracked everything from the purchase of the car to the interest rate if I financed it, and maintenance and fuel, and then what the car was worth when I was done driving it and I sold it. So over the entire time I owned it, how much did I pay to own the car? And I've done that with this car, and it is literally cheaper than anything I've ever owned, right down to very old cars, because well, one thing is the depreciation is so low on a Tesla, or has been so low. So on both of these cars, the difference between our purchase price and our sales price, if we were to sell it now, is so close that in that respect, the cars will hardly cost us anything, except that we're out that money during that time, and we get the money right back when we're done with it. And then on this particular Model S, it had an extended warranty, so virtually every part in it was replaced under warranty. So the only thing I paid for is a little bit of power when I charge at home, and tires. I mean, it's been hardly paid for anything. I mean, really, the total dollar amount into this car in maintenance and driving it, considering that I've gone 75,000 miles in it, is extremely low. So I haven't actually calculated where that number is. I probably could figure it out, and I don't know that I have time on this video to do that and share it. I got a lot of things going on, but yeah, I can tell you I didn't have to calculate it. I know it's super cheap. And then our new one, we already knew when we bought it that when we sell it, it won't lose much value, because we bought it used, we'll sell it used, and it won't cost us anything while we own it. It doesn't require any maintenance. So we'll only be out, I mean, we might be out a couple $1,000, and we'll probably, if we own it, assuming we don't keep that car, we love that car, but we might own it 6 months. And so I guess if you divide it out, I mean, we probably could have rented a car, a cheap rental car or something for the same price, but we've loved the opportunity to try it out and try the self-driving and everything. So yeah, if you buy especially a Tesla used, and even new, the Model 3s new, the used Model 3s are selling for the same price almost as they sold for new. So yes, if you buy the Tesla right and you drive it for a couple of years and you sell it, and you look at how much money you spent, you are going to be so far under the typical gas car that you're going to spend a fortune on fuel and maintenance, and probably depreciation. It ends up being a pretty good case for the Tesla. So I just want to pass that along before everyone starts talking about how much money we have. It literally is less money than I spent on my Prius that I drove before this. All right, well, so to wrap up the Tesla video, we have a situation, since our long-term plans are to eventually live on a boat full time. We definitely know we're not keeping both Teslas, and we've considered keeping one for when we come back to land, so we have something to drive. And so it's actually interesting, because we have a dilemma in that we don't know which car we would actually keep. There's pluses and minuses to both cars, although we for sure do lean to the old one. It might sound crazy, but we love Samantha, and Samantha, this particular car, has had a lot of new parts put in. So the older Model S's, if you were thinking to buy one, there's some known things that go wrong with all of them pretty much. And the door handles tend to quit working on them, for instance. The screens tend to go bad, and for some reason they do lose a lot of their drive motors. And so those are things that typically go bad. So this car has a new motor, and it has a new MCU, central computer unit, and it has a new pyro fuse, and we just had the 2 side door handles done. So it's got 2 of the 4 door handles replaced, and then we just had a brand new infotainment computer put into it. So this car has a brand new screen, computer, the whole 9 yards, with the new LTE connection, and has all the same technology as the new one over here, which is the Netflix, Hulu, I mean all that kind of stuff that the new ones can do, the old one can now do. So this car has perfect paint, perfect interior, drives beautifully, looks like brand new, has all kinds of new parts. The only thing in this car that isn't new is the battery. And the battery still is pretty fantastic. I mean, it still can pull off over 200 miles of range. Even with its age, which is less than it used to be. And the biggest difference now is just charging speed. Charging speed gets slower and slower and slower on this car. And so it's getting to where it's less desirable on a road trip every year. The good news is, and the thing we're excited about, is if we keep this car, you can potentially get a bigger battery put in it than it came with originally. We did a loaner car that had a 90 put into it. So this car could be a 90, and as efficiently as it runs, that would put your range close to 300 miles. And it would up your charging speed considerably. So this car would be incredible with its new battery. It would be essentially like a brand new car, battery good for another 12 to 15 years, have a range of almost 300 miles, charge fast, and most importantly, this car charges for free for life. One of the perks of the early Teslas is free charging for life. So this car right here, pretty hard to replace. And free charging for life, free data streaming for life. So your music and your everything you download inside the car, free for life. So really, who wouldn't want to keep this car forever? You really could. Now flipping to the new one, the self-driving technology, I really find interesting. I think it's a cool thing. I would love to have a car that's going to continue to update its self-driving to where eventually it's fully autonomous. That is a really cool feature, and that's part of this car. And the seats, they're softer, more comfortable. It's faster. The performance is better. There is a lot to say for this one also. And to be honest, the money is virtually the same. The Model S's are more valuable cars, and by the time you pay for the new battery, you almost have the same amount of money you'd have into this one, which is, a much newer car, but it's a Model 3. So given the same amount of money, it depends, I think, if I were recommending to someone which way to go. The older car probably is going to have a few more things go wrong with it, potentially need to go into the shop a little more, but maybe not that much difference. There's not that many parts in it. They're almost all new. So do you take full self-driving or free supercharging? That's the question that we're asking in this video. So what would you do? Would you go performance car, full self-driving, or would you go free data, free supercharging, classic, great looks? That's the question.